All right, welcome to Office Hours. It is August 29th, my word. And it's about to be the long weekend. This is exciting. Does everybody have writerly plans for the long weekend?
Yep. I have to catch up.
Catch up on what?
Well, because I had eye surgery, so I need to catch up on all the pages. I have all these pages to edit before I send them to Eileen.
I need to progress on the new novel. I'm taking 3 days off to sleep and celebrate because I've been working crazy hours in the stupid movie business. So I'm just going to take 3 days to chill, and then I'm going to jump in the new manuscript because I'm excited about it right now. So
awesome.
What about you? Are you doing anything exciting?
I have 3 days of 100% author time. So I think I am updating my website. I changed 4 covers on my books that I'm going to do for re-releasing in the fall. So I got to update the audiobook covers and the ebook covers, and I've got print editions that just need to get uploaded that have the new covers. I've been stalling for some unknown reason, and now I know why, because
your subconscious was telling you something.
Yeah, I've been sitting on a couple things that just didn't feel like they clicked for quite some time. I've had print editions of my books for almost 2 years, and I haven't uploaded them, and I couldn't figure out what was blocking me on that. But it was because the pieces hadn't quite clicked in the right way, and for whatever reason, those feel more permanent. So even though they're not, because it's print on demand, but I didn't feel like I got how it all quite worked, but now I do. So I'm going to make those changes and get everything cleaned up and in alignment. And
you're closing circles.
Closing all the circles. And I think one of my books comes out of KU today. Actually, I have to double check that after office hours. And I'm gearing up to release as perma-free because the next ones in the series are coming out. So basically just buying myself a little breathing room. September is always cleanup month, and I go in and clean up the front matter and back matter and all the books, and I add all the new titles to all of them that have been released in the previous year, and update my email onboarding to include whatever new pieces have come out. So
yeah, I just say something.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for my list. My stuff I'm supposed to add to lists for you, by the way. Remember?
I sent that ages ago.
I never got it.
Okay.
You sent it to me.
Maybe. Let me double check.
Never got anything. It must have maybe gone to spam or something.
Too funny. I was all cocky because I did that homework. No, that part didn't even cross my mind. But I totally had it on one of my little bingos. That's so funny. Okay. It might have been your Hotmail address.
Oh, it might have got lost in
okay. So I'm gonna write on my bingo right now. Resend homework for Leslie. And we're good. Okay.
You got my Gmail account because that's the one that Creative Academy stuff comes to.
Yes.
Good. I'm so sorry that I missed that.
Oh, that's okay. And nothing has changed since then. It's still not Christmas. So those lists become particularly relevant around Thanksgiving. So we have some time. Excellent. How about Jenny? What are you going to be up to? Is this the same holiday weekend in the States as it is in Canada? Or? Oh, and you're muted. I'm going to unmute you. Or try. There you go.
I'm going actually on a long weekend with 2 girlfriends, and it's like an 8-hour drive. It was really poor planning on my part. because they're staying for the whole week, but I have to drive back on Wednesday because on Thursday I'm flying to Denver for the Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers Conference.
Chatting about the world.
Calendar, my friend.
Yeah, it was sort of like a last minute impromptu thing, like over drinks. And I said, oh yeah, I can do that. And then I realized that was really stupid. So, but I didn't want to let my girlfriend down. So
Fair.
Any good audiobook suggestions? I'm open because I have 16 hours of driving in my near future.
Well, I am listening to The House at Riverton on an audiobook, and I am absolutely loving it because it's interesting. It's a different experience to listen than it is to read. So
Yeah, Eileen and I have this thing. I love the back cover of every single Kate Morton book I've ever bought. I've never finished one. And I'm a book finisher, but I've never finished one, not in writing, not in audiobook. I cannot get through them. I hate them.
Well, so, you know what? It's a very different experience to listen to it, because I was saying that I don't know that I would have pushed through all that description if I was reading, but when you're just listening to it and I'm doing something on the side, it was actually really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this one will be different. So, but yeah, I'm going to try and read it, this one, because I've tried to listen to the last couple. And like, I'd gotten to the point where I went, oh yeah, I remember, I'm not buying her books. I don't like them. And then Eileen recommended like The Clockmaker's Daughter. And so I got that on audiobook and I couldn't get through it. And so I told Eileen, I will try one more.
Never mind. I'm halfway through it and I'm enjoying it still.
So yeah. So, but anyway, so I'm going to have a good time with my girlfriends, and then I'm going to go to that conference, and then I'm going to come back and buckle my ass down because I had a totally unproductive week this week. So
there you go. Mm-hmm. You've got a mission.
I do.
So what are we tackling this evening? Ms. Bonning, do you have website questions? Is that a true?
I do. When I post the link of my website, it seems to randomly take things.
It does, yes.
And I found a section where in Divi where you can say what page to do and stuff, but I noticed in my next link that it took something, words that I remember from a long time ago, WordPress words, and it did say WordPress site. So I'm thinking maybe there's something in the WordPress side of things that is overwriting. I don't know.
That is possible.
I think I had this problem, and I'm trying to remember how they fixed it because I called the helpline.
Do you want to share your screen from inside? I have an idea that may or may not be accurate, which we can test out.
Yeah, I think it was, am I muted? I think it was something about which pages you publish and which pages you don't publish. And so, like, you have to publish the Divi pages, not the WordPress pages. And you have to unpublish the WordPress pages. I think that's what it was for mine.
Right.
I have one page.
Yeah, I think this is all one. So if we go into your dashboard, I love it, by the way. It looks beautiful.
Thank you. That's my dashboard. Boy, so slow. I need a new computer.
Okay. So if you go down to settings under general, and we're just going to poke around in the settings for a minute because some of this is what gets pulled. And we don't have, if you scroll down, is there any like description section?
Nope.
Okay, go to, we're going to check each of them. So check writing and then check reading. And we'll see if there's anything in there. Sometimes the Yoast SEO plugin lets you set a page description for each page, and then that's what it pulls. So that's just click in the writing, and we'll see if there's any like just option to set that specifically. Okay.
If I changed any of these things, it was like in 2013.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So then, and it's a static page, so that's good. Yeah, that's not anything useful. I think So one way around it, if we don't find it in here and you don't find it in the Divi settings, is to install Yoast, and then you can put in your page descriptions.
Okay.
Then that is an option.
Of course, I should probably just try and test and see if it is still doing that.
Yeah, and how long ago did you change it? Because I remember it took ours a really long time before it started pulling the right information. Like maybe
I changed it this morning, like at
Oh,
9:30.
okay. Okay. So then it probably has to go back to the server and get indexed, whatever it is that it does. I have no idea, but it's quite possible that it will just take a little while before it starts pulling the correct thing, because we've run into that a few times before and we didn't ever find a setting to change. It just finally updated itself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, is it a caching issue? If you clear your cache, then do you see the right thing?
No, it's when I post a link, say in Ring Central, and I mean, I saw that it was grabbing different things there, so I fixed that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, and then the next time that I posted a link, it grabbed some old WordPress description, like way back from.
And does Divi, under the Divi settings, it has, I feel like it has an area for like social media and stuff in there. Under the theme options at the top.
Yeah, I think integration, but it could be.
So I also noticed that your logo, when it was in small, like when it was on a mobile, because that's what I was looking at it on, it was showing the Divi logo, because I don't know if you've removed it since then. Yeah, okay.
I removed it this morning.
Perfect. That's good then.
Because I did not want the Divi logo.
Okay.
Some things were taking, I was doing this quite late at night, and then I was just, I gotta just hit publish, otherwise, which probably wasn't the best thing to do. But
Yeah. How to change link preview content in
here. But
okay.
Well, I should probably.
Okay, there's something about creating post previews automatically. Let's just scroll down here.
I'll send a message to Leslie, and we'll see if it still does the Divi thing.
Yeah. Okay, I've grabbed first post image, which is not what we want.
Yep, it's a, mind you, that might just be Messenger. It puts Divi, the logo.
Yeah, some like link grabber things work differently than others. So some are just not going to
play friendly no matter what.
Yeah.
Until I put a logo in.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. So yeah, I'm not seeing an actual like how to set that. I think the one thing you could check actually is in your pages section. Let's just check the order of the pages, because it might just grab the first page in the back end. Like it might not be the first thing from your toolbar, your menu bar. It might be the first thing in here. Is it about me that it was grabbing?
No, actually it was grabbing, randomly grabbing different pictures from the website, from the single page.
Okay. Yeah, in that case.
Well, I don't know.
I got nothing. I would say give it like 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
Let it have a holiday weekend and think about what it's not doing. And then whatever, because Google will be indexing the site. So the other thing is, when you like submit your site to the webmaster tools for it to be indexed, I suspect there's also an area to customize it in there.
Okay, and is there a way that I can see how big this thing is for loading and try to figure out if I can optimize it so it doesn't take so long to load?
Yeah, it's usually around your images. If you go to your media library,
Mhm.
then so one way to check each image is just to click on each image in your media library and then check the size of it. And it should be kilobytes, not megabytes.
Yeah, I made them all
Okay.
under 100 kilobytes. So
Okay, perfect. So you should be fine. But the way to check is to go all in one WP migration, and then you can just do an export of the whole thing, and it will tell you how big it is.
okay.
So as long as you've got web images, and there is a Jetpack plugin that's called WP Super Cache or something like that, and it speeds up loading times because it sets it to be cached, basically.
Okay. So that's that WP Super Cache.
Yeah. And if you're connecting Jetpack, it'll give you an option for like your site stats and everything as well, that it'll pull from your WordPress.com account. So then it gives you some stats that way, and it has a whole bunch of other potentially useful functionality. A lot of it is kind of spammy and you just want to leave it turned off. But yeah, if you're looking for stats in particular, that one is really helpful. And there are a few things that will sort of auto crush post pictures if they're too big and things like that. So some of those functions are useful if they're turned on.
Okay, and I did have.
And do you have your SSL set up yet? It looks like you have a little exclamation. You want to do that right now? Because it's just a quick plugin to install.
Okay.
Are you on HostGator?
No, GoDaddy.
GoDaddy? Okay.
I have to grab a free one, right?
Yes, and it's slightly more involved than the rest. So you're going to want to probably reach out to their help guys. Yeah.
I did have a question, but I'm not sure if you can answer it. On the desktop, I've got this nice, what's it, divider, whooshing across. But on my tablet and my phone, it takes all the bottom dividers out. It leaves the top dividers, but it takes all the bottom ones. And I've gone through
What do you mean by dividers? I'm looking at it on my phone right now, Bonnie.
the blue swoosh in the bottom. It doesn't go through this this little tagline.
Oh.
Okay.
And I've done the little settings for tablet and phone, but I noticed it changes the divider style, so it might just be a Divi issue.
Yeah.
Here we go, bottom. So only the bottom ones, but it has troubles with. So here it's got the desktop has a swoosh there, and then the tablet. It changed it to that.
Right.
But it actually doesn't show on the, I mean, it shows on this screen and makes it look like it's working. Tried a couple of tablets and 2 phones, and it's only the bottom dividers that disappear.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's like a sizing issue.
Well, it looks nice on mine. It has the background.
Yeah, but if you scroll upwards underneath the little beige part, there's no blue swoosh.
No, there's a beige one at the bottom. I think it compacts it because if you had that many graphic elements, it would be too much in that space.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I have to change.
It looks great on here. Like, I think you've got like your text. I don't know if you can see it, but like the texture is there.
Yeah.
But it's framing it like
Differently.
it's framing the section, yeah, as opposed to having both top and bottom. But it does look really nice. Like, I think it totally works like that. So only you will ever know that.
Oh, yeah, I will ever know.
Yeah.
Yes, and also I don't know if you can answer this either. I have all these wonderful questions. I assumed that it would put, you know, left to right reading, left to right, left to right, left to right for the phone, but it's doing this column and then that column on the phone. So instead of doing,
So it's
doing,
it's doing fantasy and then the picture below it.
yeah, rather
And
than left to right, left to right.
But I think, isn't there a setting that you can say how you want it to stack?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. There should be a stacking setting?
Yeah, try in there.
Yeah, I feel like the pictures are in the wrong order too.
They are. They're in the right order on the desktop.
Yeah, they're on the desktop, they're fine, but on my phone we've got the dragons with the sign and the house thing and the science fiction, and then we've got the science fiction picture with the fantasy.
Yeah, because it's taking the vertical stack and then it's moving the whole thing down. You know what? It might be because is everything in one row and then there's just no padding? Because if it was in separate rows,
yeah,
then it stacks by row.
Yeah,
so,
no, it's one row. So I thought that's something I could do to.
Yeah, so you could split it into separate rows and just make the padding 0 on the top and the bottom, and then it'll look the same on the computer. But when it flows it'll take the right hand side and drop it under the left hand side. But it does that by row is how it organizes it. So that will be why. So you get horizontal overflow and vertical overflow as the defaults, but you could maybe play with that.
Yeah, see if it changes for tablet and phone.
So what are your options under default there?
Sorry, it's taken a little while to resize.
Yeah, that happens.
That happens. Click, mix.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. It didn't change anything.
Okay.
I just thought, I'll do the remote scroll and see what happens. Phone. I don't think it does anything.
Oh, yeah. That you can use the sidebar to scroll up and down within it.
Oh, that's all it is.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Nope.
That's not what we want. I think your best bet's probably rows.
Yeah. Okay.
With no padding. Yeah.
X out of there. Instead of trying to change it back, I'll just X out. Okay. I think those are my main questions. I was trying to figure out how to make the colored fantasy science fiction match the same size as the image, but if I do them in rows, that'll probably solve that problem.
Yes. Yeah. It should take care of that.
And I guess I should scroll down in case people are watching this later so you can see my dragon.
It's a beautiful dragon. That's the best. That little section right there is the winner. And does it show up on mobile now? Let's see. Well, you still on mobile only get part of the dragon, but at least you can see part of it. Earlier, it wasn't showing up at all.
Yeah, I tried resizing it, but then if you say fit, it does fit for all of them, which to me didn't make sense. It should do cover on desktop and fit on.
Yeah, and that's cute. Like you get enough to get the idea, and then if you send the dragon in your welcome email, then it's like, here, we're teasing you with that. You get the whole thing. Then that's fun.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. Thank you for your answers.
Yeah, you made some good progress on that. It's looking fancy.
Yes, and now I have to figure out how to get a little logo thing in the corner. I tried playing with those Wix logos, but nothing quite.
Yeah, I found logos one of those areas where it's not terrible if you end up hiring someone or don't just have a word mark logo. Like if you just have your name in a font that looks nice, then that's a nice kind of straightforward way to handle
Your
it.
cat looks huge, Jenny. Giant eye.
Yeah.
What about site icons? The little ID that shows up, or little icon that shows up.
Oh, yes.
Where do we find those, or do we just create them? Or?
Well, you just create them, really, usually. Or you can pull something off of a stock image site or whatever, and then you just resize it to fit. So there's, in your Divi settings, there's a section. It's called a favicon.
Okay.
That's what it's called. And
I couldn't remember what it was called, so I couldn't find it.
that's the magic word.
Favicon.
That's a fun view of the kitty face. Here, I'll show you.
Favicon?
We'll do a demo. Yeah. So, okay, you can see, like, if you go to my website, there's going to be a thing that pops up here, and it's what's showing right here on the shortcut. So it's basically an image that's associated with your site in the little tab. So, like, for the focus course I'm doing, it is this little graphic thing, right? Each of these things, you know, our TCA one is all squished for some reason. It's like a flat light bulb, but each of these things will appear in the corner of the tab. So you want to do it on clear, like you want a transparent background if you can, so that it looks clean like this.
Otherwise, you get lines.
Otherwise, you get the lines, exactly, which works like for Amazon if that's what you want. So like you have like a circle or something that's part of it, or like Pinterest has like a red background, but the obviously like the circle's colored, the actual background isn't because it's a square spot, and they're teeny tiny, so you have to make sure it is a very clear, like whatever it's going to be. You don't want to use a very complicated image or it ends up all muddled and sketchy looking. And there's a really specific size. It's got to be 16 by 16 or 32 by 32. I usually do 32 by 32. But you want to actually create it a little bit bigger, and then you save as smaller so that it's not fuzzy. You want it to have enough resolution that it actually comes through clearly.
Okay, so same thing I did with my pictures. My little 5,000 by 309, 3,000 something down to.
Yep. So, and you can pick whatever seems to work. Some people will use like their initials or a pen or, you know, whatever feels like it indicates you. If you had a little dragon silhouette that was full enough to work, like that would be a possibility. Or just like a dragon eye, maybe like a glowing yellow kind of eye. Yeah, then that could work. Do we have any more questions on that for the moment? I have a bunch of like emailed in questions that we can tackle.
Okay, I have a quick question. So
sure.
I put in MailerLite, and I assume when people, I did a test, and they just get added to my MailerLite database basically until I do something.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have to do anything yet.
Yeah, they just get added. And do you have double opt-in turned on?
No. What's that?
So that is, it means that they'll get a message saying, please confirm that this is the right address, basically.
Oh.
So that's a good thing to turn on if it's not already, because it will.
MailerLite, or do I turn that on?
In MailerLite. Okay. Yeah. And then that way you're much less likely to have bounces, because people, if they entered their email address wrong, you'll find out pretty much right away. And there is a little, like, you can customize that email that comes a little bit if you want. So you can say, you know, click here to confirm that we've got the right email address, and, you know, I'll be in touch in a couple months, or, you know, however you want to phrase it, just so they're not like expecting that something else should have come right away and it didn't.
Okay.
And you can inject a little personality, like here's a dragon to keep you entertained in the meantime. But just remember, like, you don't want a lot of pictures or anything in it, because you want it to be having the highest possible chance of getting delivered. and making it all the way into their inbox. So
You took us on a little trip.
that was fancy. It was like the
Sorry.
first thing.
I've got my phone because Microsoft just spent 2 hours updating my computer, and it was up on a book so I could get the right angle, and I moved it and it rolled.
Well, thank you, Crystal.
Dramatic and exciting. Okay, so for Brianna, who's out there minus the internet tonight, because I think she's on at her property, which is a little more wildernessy at the moment. So she says she has engaged a cover designer and editor for the free novella, and both those things should be complete by the end of September. Now she's curious what she needs to do next to launch the free novella and a timeline for that. So she's looking at aiming for spring for book 1 and fall for the novella to develop a list. Also wondering about titles and any suggestions on how to make sure they're hitting the market right. Okay. Thoughts around having a pen name or not? Okay.
Is she in the US or in Canada?
She's in Canada.
Okay.
Yes. So let's tackle the pen name one first. We actually have, there's a Q&A interview with Odette about using a pen name or not. That's an interesting starting place on that. One of the reasons why you would is if you want a separation between real life you and writer you. So that's kind of one thing to weigh. That generally is not so complicated. Most of the time in the back end of things, you know, they're not showing your legal name that's getting the payouts from Amazon or whatever. You have to set up all your accounts in your legal name because that's who gets paid. So you want to make sure that it's a real person with a real bank account that's connected. Otherwise your money's going to be in limbo, which is no good. You want to keep all that. So that's one thing to be aware of, is just when you're setting up your accounts, you do use your real name. You can use an imprint name. So if you've set up your ISBN account in your real name, you can have an imprint name that's like, you know, Light and Shadow Romance or whatever you're going to call your little publishing company. And then you can do that. So like I have Thigh High Inc. As my romance writing imprint name. And then we have the Creative Academy. It's the same ISBN account, but those books are, that's the Creative Academy imprint. So you can have multiple imprints for different pen names and different arrangements, and they can all be in the same ISBN account. And that's what Amazon will make public when you set it up. So that's the important piece. Reasons why you might struggle with a pen name is people knowing it's you, which, you know, may or may not be an issue. So if you do want people to know it's you, then it's an extra step of connecting that. And if you've already got established social media accounts and stuff like that, and you want those connections, then that's something that will be an extra step, an extra kind of work for you. You'll also have to be careful when you're booking things, like if you ever do conference speaking or you do book signings and things like that. Sometimes if your documents are in a different name and that's why you're traveling, that can be a little bit complicated, or your payments can come to your author name. You've got to really specify with any event organizers how that's going to work, which is totally manageable. You just have to be aware that you need to sort of be upfront, like I write under this pen name, but this is the legal name that needs to be on everything, and then that's fine. Another reason people might want to do that is if you think you're going to want to write in really different genres or at really different heat levels. So if you're doing like sweet and clean romance, but you also have some racy, like intense, contemporary, dark, whatever line, you may not want to mix those crowds. So then it can be useful to have a pen name just to keep them separate. So there's no right way to do this. There's no like proper way. It's really just making sure that it's going to do that. And yes, you have to get used to being called by that pen name, which is also an interesting exercise. Even when it's your real name, like CJ Hunt is my real name, but I still think it's weird when people who are not my mom are calling me CJ. So, you know, because that was kind of a nickname growing up. So, you do have to pick something you're comfortable with and that still feels like you, that you'll be comfortable answering to, for sure. Jenny?
I would say in the US, just, for anybody who's watching this in the future, if you Google your legal name, people are going to find out where you live.
Right. Yes. So if you are thinking you want to keep your identity and location more anonymous, then you want to make sure that you are using a pen name. That's an extra good reason to be doing that. You'll also want to be aware, like if you're using a pen name, your website domains need to be tied to a real name. So you're going to want to pay for privacy protection so that your information is not published alongside your website information, which it is in Canada and the US. Like that's not just the US, that's a thing. And people can also look up your publisher name and some basic information about your publishing company through Library Archives Canada as well. So just to be aware of that. Kind of what you reveal and what address you use. A lot of people will just use a PO box, and there are kind of some writing groups who one of their services, if you belong to them, is that you can use a PO box on your newsletters and stuff that belongs to the group instead of a personal one. So that's something to think about if you don't want to sort of, I think it's $130 or something like that to have your own PO box. And a lot of the PO boxes, there's services that have a street address associated, because a lot of what you'll come up against, like with your newsletters, they really do want a street address. They don't want a PO box. So there's some stuff there that, if you've got somewhere that kind of does double duty, then that can be really useful, is that you have a physical address that isn't your house. And you also have something to put on all of those forms that is useful. For your publishing accounts, they will want your real contact information and your social insurance numbers. They have a reporting requirement to the government to submit your income statements and things like that, so that they can match up and make sure people are paying taxes on everything from out of country. So I think the other thing to think about is if your name doesn't really fit your genre. So we've got Bob Smith writing, Sweet Hometown Romance is maybe not going to be the ideal fit. So thinking about, is that pen name going to be a good fit is another way to kind of look at that. And does it fit on your books? Because like my maiden name, Stranahan, has a lot of letters, and you really want your author name to be as big as it can be on your book covers. And so shorter names, I think, Brianna, you got a solid name. You can definitely use that in romance, and you can definitely fit that on a book cover. So you're golden. No problems there. So you have open choices. But for some people, that is a problem. Or if you think people couldn't spell or say your name, and that's going to be like a branding issue, then that can also be a thing. Just make sure you are Googling the heck out of the name before you commit to it. So it's interesting what you discover when you go looking for a name. So there are at least 2 other CJ Hunts. And Crystal Hunt is like a famous soap opera actress who now is branched out into a bunch of other stuff. So like she owns the social media for Crystal Hunt, which is why I went with CJ, was because the other 2 I think are both men and write in different genres. So they are not in the romance sphere. There will be no confusion there. And then my nonfiction is Crystal Hunt, because that's way far away from what the other Crystal Hunt does. She doesn't write books, so she's not on Amazon at all, just out there in the world. So it's only a concern if I were going to go hard with the social media presence, which I'm not for that identity. So knowing what you want out of it and how that's going to play is really important for choosing the pen name. Okay, let's talk about titles next, because that's kind of a related issue. It's all about branding, really, and it also fits in pretty heavily with cover design. So titles do matter for sure, especially in romance. It's trendy. The good thing is on Amazon, at least, you can use subtitles to kind of flesh out a short main title, and you can have series titles as well, if you're trying to tie things together. So you have a fair bit of freedom there around length and how that's going to work. Again, titling, you know, it's often used to signal genre. So looking at the top 100 books in your category. Let's say you're writing like a steamy, we'll use that. You're using it like a steamy new adult sports title, right? If you're going to look at the other ones in there and you're going to see like, how are people titling things? Are they all single word titles? Are they all like 5 words and one of them contains a sports related term? You know, like what are the patterns in the titles in your category? And that's going to be your starting place. And the second consideration is around, if you've got a series, how can you tweak it so that you get consistency across your series, but also a little bit of individuality for each of them. And if you think about series book cover design, you're going to want to have similar length of titles for each book, because when you've designed your cover template that's going to go across your series, you need to be able to ripple that out without completely skewing the design. So if I have one title that's like, you know, My Fair Lady, and another one that's like Charmed, it's not going to work to look the same roughly on each of them. So that's why often you'll find a series where the titles are all the same number of words, and they're sometimes even the same 2 words, and it's just the third one that are changed, is because that makes the designer's job much more functional, as well as kind of signaling to readers where that's fitting in the mix of everything. So titles are very important. That is a thing. And I think I've even got a how to title your book article that I have linked before. Let me just see if I can pull that up here. Okay, this one is a Kindlepreneur article, and it's pretty good. I feel like it may have a chunk of stuff on nonfiction, but there should also be some fiction in there. And that will give you some homework to do, and go looking. I mean, the biggest thing you can do anytime you're choosing an author name or titles or series covers or anything like that is go and look at your category that you are going to be in. Go and be in a bookstore where there's a bookshelf of all the books similar to yours, and just pull them out and make notes like, okay, you know, out of the 100 here, there are 82 that are single word titles, and, you know, some that have 2 and some that have 3, nothing that's longer than that, but almost all of them are single words. Then you know you should be targeting something like that, right? That's sort of a signal genre, and it sets reader expectations. So that's a good practice. Is Goodreads lists are also another useful place to go if you're trying to look up stuff like that, because you'll find a list like, you know, the best holiday romances or the best books in space with aliens or whatever. And people have made all of these lists, and you can just scan down. They show you like 20 or 30 maybe each page. And so you can just scan down and see what the trends are and just make some notes for yourself about colors and style, and just pay a little bit of attention to how old the books are, because you want to stay current with the styles that are happening at the moment for cover design, if possible. Okay, next question was around timing. So what kind of timeline should you be looking at to launch the free novella? Okay, so there's a couple different ways to use a free novella to build your list. So one is, and you can actually do them simultaneously. That's part of the good part. If you know that your first paid book in the series is coming out at a certain date, and even if you've set up pre-order for it, then you can have a link in the back of your book that's free. So let's say you've published it wide and it's going to be perma-free, and people download it for free, they read it, and in the back it says, click here to get notified when the next book in the series is ready to read. Okay, so that's one way to use that perma-free and be collecting people's names. And that link in the back of the book is going to go right to your mailing list sign up, like a landing page. It doesn't want to go to your website even. It wants to go straight to your newsletter landing page. So their only choice of what to do is to put their name in there and be on your list. And then the other way is by using that free book in your book funnel promos. And so you would go inside book funnel, you would look at other authors that have books like yours or that are doing a promo that is, you know, contemporary romance or steamy whatever, depending on your level of your book, you'd pick the best match. And then you put your book in as part of that promotion. And then your list will build through that. And it will be either directly putting people onto your list if you have the mailing list integration in your book funnel, or it will be collecting names, and then you will download those and import them into your MailerLite if you don't have the integration set up. So those are the two different ways to use it. And you can use those however long in advance you want, basically. There's no restrictions on that. Not more than 6 months is often wise, just because people forget that they signed up for your list and they forget who you were, and you know, you end up kind of sending out or not sending out anything for a while, and then you're less likely to connect directly with those people. But 6 months is reasonable if you've got a product that they can download and read. And then if you have your list and you've got a free one posted, you want to contact your list and say, hey, you know, maybe it's 3 weeks after they've downloaded it or whatever, and say, you know, you downloaded this freebie. I just wanted to check in, see if you liked it. You know, if you're willing to post a review here, or here, that would be amazing and super helpful for me as an indie author. And then you'll be boosting your review numbers on your freebie as well, which is really important, because when that next book comes out, you want people to be downloading the freebie, because that's the pathway into your paid product. Okay, and what else you need to do to launch the free novella and a timeline for that? Well, so if you've got your cover and you've got your editing, then you're going to need to actually do your book layouts. So I don't know if you have Vellum, that's one way. If you're on a Mac, is to use that layout tool. If you don't have Vellum and you want to hire somebody to do it for you, there's a lovely lady named Jackie Nelson, who is available for hire very affordably to lay out people's novels for them. And she uses Vellum, so it looks very polished, and that's great. A third option is to use Draft to Digital's layout tool. So you upload your Word document, and then you fiddle with the settings in your account, and it formats everything for you based on what you've said you want. So that's also an option. And then you can download the files from in there. It doesn't cost anything, it's free, but you have to do it on your own and figure it out. So it's one of those trade-offs of if you want to learn it, then that's great. And if you don't, then hiring somebody like Jackie who's willing to do it for you, and she'll just ask you a whole bunch of questions about what you want, and then it'll just be ready. So those are all viable options. Excuse me. And as far as other things, I mean, you need your book blurb. You need to know what categories you're going to put your book in when you're setting up your account in your KDP account. You're going to have to say what keyword phrases you want to use, and basically all of your metadata. So what price do you want your book to be? Which territories are you going to sell it in? And then you'll need to have your files to upload for your interior and your cover. And the actual publishing process, like when you have your laid out file and you've got your cover and everything's all good, the actual publishing process only takes minutes. Like uploading a book in KDP, it might take you 15 minutes the first time, longer if you don't have any of your blurb written or anything like that. And Like, I think I did the last one in about 5 minutes. It's super fast if you've got all your materials prepped. And then when you hit publish, you've either set up a pre-order date where it will go live, or you hit publish in real time, and it's often live within a few hours. So that part, the actual publishing part, you don't need a lot of time in your timeline for that bit. It's the preparing for the publishing that takes all the time. So yeah, hopefully that is helpful. The actual amount of minutes it might take to lay out a book or whatever else is going to depend on your learning curve and your comfort with the tools. So there's no way really to predict that. I would say give yourself some time on the first one, and you'll probably want to like do your layout and then think about, okay, did I get all the front matter stuff I want, and read a few books in your genre and look at like, okay, I like how this author phrased things at the end when they're asking people to join their list, so I'm going to borrow that phrasing, which you totally can do. So you're going to want to give yourself a little bit of kind of fiddling time just to make sure that you can make it the best you can make it. And the good news is with ebooks, you can change it anytime you want. So even if you publish and then you're reading through someone else's book and you're like, oh, brilliant, like I love how they handled that, you can go back and change your file and re-upload it and hit publish, and that will be live within hours. So, you know, you're not married to it forever. Whatever you do, you can change. So, you know, in case you're, I know a lot of people have some pretty high anxiety around hitting that publish button, and obviously you want to make it as perfect as you can, but also we are constantly changing the way back matter works, and Kindle changes the way it displays things. And so every time there's a change, you go back in, you fiddle with it, and then you upload a new version to make sure you're getting sort of the optimal experience for your reader as you go. And each book you release, you're going to want to add to your also buy list inside your book. So every time you release a new book, you're probably going to want to upload your old one, again, with that new link in it as a call to action. One other thing a lot of people will do is if you have the first chapter of your next book ready, you'll have your perma-free book, and at the end of the perma-free book, you'll say, you know, keep reading for a sneak peek at the next book in the series. And then at the end of that sneak peek, it says, you know, read the rest of the story. And that button actually goes to a newsletter sign up where you say, oops, it's not quite ready yet, but put your email here and I will fire you an email the second it's ready. And then that way you kind of keep that momentum going, and it just, you've given them a taste of what they hopefully want more of, and then lured them in. Yeah. In the most like non-creepy positive reader experience kind of way, of course, but yeah, basically you're fishing for readers. And I think that is all of Brianna's questions and like very nearly all the minutes. So that worked out really well. Did anybody else have any last questions who is present? No? Just filling your brain with all of the things.
Mm-hmm. It's part of my do-it-yourself MFA.
Did your brain explode, Leslie?
That was my brain exploding.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff.
Well, you have an agent, so you're going to have help. So that's exciting. Okay, so I believe that brings us to the end of today's session. Let's take a quick look at next week. We have Tuesday morning at 11, and that's the only office hours next week. So, well, I mean, Donna and Eileen have the regular stuff too, but that'll be your only chance to hang with me. Will be Tuesday at 11 next week, and it'll be September.
I
I know. Ah. Oh well.